Hi guys, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop, and today, as promised in the last video, we are going to work on a spindle. This is a customer's machine, and you'll notice it's a lot shorter than a standard rear engine machine spindle. It's because this is out of a front engine snapper tractor or lawn tractor, whatever you want to call it. I've got my Ingersoll deck up here standing up, and as you can see I got some straps on it so it doesn't fall, and I have to rebuild all three of these spindles. Maybe that'll be the next show. The problem with this is when he sent it to me, he tried to get the bearings in and couldn't get them in. He ended up destroying one of them, and the other one is not in much better shape. So we're going to replace them both with new ones. And when I got the old bearings out, I found this inside of the spindle. Now it kind of looks like hair, but it's not. What that is it was paint that he was shearing off when he was trying to press them bearings in. This is brand new. They painted it. Wasn't that nice of them? Now it won't rust. Well, this is powder coat. It's much thicker than regular paint. And what did they do? They painted the inside also. Not a good thing. So I sandblasted the paint out of it on both sides where the bearings go in. Now we're going to try, they still fit tight, and that's because I mic'd this the best I could with a pair of calipers I have, and it is not exactly round. It's a little bit egg-shaped by about 2/1000ths, which doesn't sound like much, but this is supposed to be a slip fit. It's not supposed to be a pressed fit. The top bearing is held into place with two snap rings. One is already in there, if you can see that. The bearing goes in, the next snap ring goes on top of it. That determines the position of both bearings in the spindle by installing, or I guess you could call it a spindle once it's assembled. Right now this is a housing and this is your spindle. But when you shove this up in here into that top bearing and put a nut on it, when you insert the bottom bearing, it will slide in here. It's supposed to be a slip fit again until it hits this shoulder. That's what positions the two bearings in this tube where they're supposed to be. Now I'm going to try this. I don't know if my drill press is going to be able to press these in because it's they're a pretty tight fit. But we'll put some oil on them and see what happens. Now to get you over there, it's gonna be a trip. As you can see, there's still stuff in here from my wife's job that we're trying to sell. And this, let me wiggle you around here. This is the aisle, supposedly, that goes to the other half of the shop. I do have one on that side, which we're going to try to get over there using. And I still have a bunch of stuff in front of the table saw. Good thing we don't need a table saw to press some bearings in. So let's see what happens. I'm going to pause this and see if I can get over there without falling down again. Talk to you in a minute. Okay, we got wiggled back over here. Now we're going to try to put the top bearing in first. Well, basically you have to. And I'm going to put some oil in here, and hopefully that will help it go in a little easier. don't know if this drill press is going to be beefy enough to do this. Well, we got it in part way, but it's not far enough to get the snap ring in place. That looks like what we want. Now, we can put the spindle in place. And we can try to get the other one in. Crank that down a little bit lower. Now you want to keep these things in the bag until you use them. You don't want to get them dirty. Now these are shielded and sealed on both sides. They are permanently greased for the life of the bearing. And I've said this before, they have a grease fitting on the side of these spindles. Please do not pump grease into them holes. The bearings are sealed. You're not going to get grease into it. Grease guns have a lot of pressure behind them. And what you will do if you pump this full of grease is that grease is gonna push up against this seal and shove it into the balls, and you're gonna destroy your bearing. Bearings today do not need to be greased. So please don't do it. Let's see if we can get this one pushed in. Maybe the oil helped and maybe it didn't. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Now that one went right in where it belonged. No problem. Quiet and smooth. Sorry. But that's what you want. Now, let me see if I can get back to the other side of the shop. If I can show you behind me. I don't have much of an aisle back there, so let's see what happens. Okay, I made it back over here without any fatalities. We're going to put the top snap ring back in that holds the top bearing in position, and usually I'll press the bearing in, I'll put the snap ring in, then I'll press the bottom one in. But I didn't want to walk back over here from over there because it's too hard. So we have this thing done. Spins very nice, very smooth, quiet. His threads on the top and the bottom of this thing, the threads on the top and the bottom of this thing were bad. So I ordered a die, or two dies actually, to chase these threads with, so the nuts will actually go back on. And you can see they screw back on there. This one is a self-locking nut, so it's not going to go on very far. Then to finish this spindle, you have, this particular spindle has two of these washers with shoulders on them. And that's so when you put this on here, that shoulder hits on the inner race of the bearing and nothing else. There's one on the top, there's one on the bottom. And they should stick up above the top of the housing on both sides. If they don't, when you screw your blade mounting bar on here, if it hits the housing, it's going to lock up the spindle and it's not going to work. And the same on the top. When you put on your brake drum for the spindle lock or the blade lock, it's going to rub on here and it's going to lock up the spindle. Most machines don't have the shoulder washer on the top. They have a bunch of regular washers that go on there, and they stack them up till they get enough to keep that from rubbing. But this isn't a rear engine machine, this is a regular riding lawnmower, and apparently that's just the way they put them together. So this is finished, and by looking at this, I have these washers on here backwards. You can see a little bit of red paint on this edge. That's because they had the mounting bar on when they painted it originally. And we will put this nut on a little bit because, like I said, it's a self-locking nut and it's not going to go on real easy. I did chase these threads, but you got to be careful putting this nut on. There we go. That screws on all the way, no problems. Until it gets to these dimples they have stamped in there. That's what locks the nut on. And the top one goes on really good. Now he'll have the big pulley that goes on here, but his doesn't have that boss sticking up. I think I wanted him to send everything he had with this, but I think when he took this pulley off, the boss that was on it came loose and he didn't send it. Or this pulley just doesn't have that on it. Like I said, this is off of a different style of machine, and this is the first one I've ever done. So we'll put this together like this. And this is from, got a box here, he shipped it to me in, I'll use to send it back. This is from Marion, and he's in Tennessee. Too bad he didn't send that up to me about 3 weeks ago. I could have delivered it to him. We went down to Tennessee last week, had a ball. I don't know why. I was with 5 women. God help me. My wife, her daughter, and 3 grandkids. But I made it through and had an awesome time. We did some cool stuff that my wife and I wouldn't have done because we kind of geared it towards the kids, and everybody had a ball. It was awesome. Marion, I'm going to mail this out tomorrow when I get out of work. This video probably won't air until next week sometime because I don't think I'm going to be making a video next week. This is Sunday the 11th, because in a couple of days I have to have surgery and I'm going to be laid up for a while. So making a couple of videos today, one to put on tomorrow and one to put on probably next week, which will be this spindle. But Marion, I will send it to you, and you should probably have your machine back together before you watch this video. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in that little box below or send me an email. I answer all of them. I'm a little behind right now because I haven't been feeling the best, but I'm going to answer them all, don't worry. And I totally forgot where I was. So, Don't forget to subscribe. It really will help me out, and it is free to you. And I guess that's it. Work safe, have fun, and keep on snapping. We'll talk to you soon. So long.